Hello, I'm Jordan Maxwell. Now, in the book Secret Societies and Subversive Movements by Nesta Webster, she was the lady that was quoted in the California State document, if you remember. Her first book was called World Revolution. This is the second book called Secret Societies and Subversive Movements. In the 12th chapter, The Secret Societies in England, there is an article, a piece in this 12th chapter. It was very interesting. Nesta Webster, interviewed a lady who was a member of a secret society called Stella Matritina. Stella Matritina, a secret society, a quasi-Masonic secret society, I might add, in England, later became known as the Order of the Golden Dawn, with Aleister Crowley at the head of it. But before Crowley, it was called Stella Matritina. And so Nesta Webster is interviewing a lady who was a member of this Stella Matritina. And it says, in the opinion of an initiate who belonged for years to Stella Matritina, the dynamic force employed, known as Kundalini,
Töltsd be határőrséget is! Töltsd be Jézus nevében! Ló, lássam! Ló, töltsd be Szent Szellem!
known as Kundalini, is simply an electromagnetic force of which the sex force is a part and on which the adepts know how to play. And the unseen hand behind all the seeming spiritism of these orders is a system of very subtle and cunning hypnotism and suggestion. She went on to say further that the aim of this group, like that of all subversive esoteric orders, is by means of such processes as eurythmics, meditations, symbols, ceremonies, formulas to awaken this force and produce false illumination for the purpose of obtaining spiritual seership, which is at most clairvoyance and clairaudience. The ceremonies of the order are hypnotic and by suggestion create the necessary mental and astral atmosphere, hypnotize and prepare the members to be willing tools in the hands of the controlling adepts. The same initiate has communicated to me the following conclusions concerning the group in question, with the permission to quote them verbatim. This was the quote from the lady who was a member of Stella Matritina. She said, "I have been convinced that we as an order have come under the power of some very evil occult order, profoundly versed in science, both occult and otherwise, though not infallible, their methods being black magic, that is to say, electromagnetic power, hypnotism, and powerful suggestion." And here is the point. We are convinced that the order is being controlled by some sun order, after the nature of the Illuminati, if not by that order itself. I want to look at this thing called a sun order, which is after the nature of the Illuminati, if not that order itself. A sun order, very ancient concept that can be traced all the way back into the beginnings of mankind. There has always been sun orders. But the important part is, how do these sun orders today manipulate world events? The sun has always been a very powerful symbol and a metaphor for all religions and all peoples on the face of the earth. But let's talk about the sun itself first as a powerful symbol. As we said, the sun has always represented a very powerful spiritual force in the universe, obviously because it gives us life and warmth, it lights the world. So naturally, the sun is a very important symbol to all mankind and all races. And as far back in mankind's history, we can see ancient sun worship. Here as far back with the And the most ancient peoples, the Assyrians and the Babylonians, their helmets, you can see on the Assyrian helmets, especially the two on the right, upper and lower, having sunburst symbols on their helmets. This is far back into the Assyrian Empire. Then, of course, we see that the Romans picked up the same idea from the Assyrians, and they had sun helmets because the sun was very important, especially in the Roman Empire. And we see it, of course, with the Native Americans, and even today in South America, such as the different races of people who celebrate the coming of the sun, even Native Americans, as I said. So it's a symbol that has been used for thousands of years, worshiping the sun. One of the oldest symbols of the sun was and still is the eagle. And this is something a lot of people do not know, that almost all the ancient civilizations in the world had an eagle somewhere in their symbolism. And the eagle always, and in every case, always represented the same thing. It was always a symbol of the sun. Why? Because eagles can fly so high, and they have sharp vision, and they're able to see things and overview the whole earth. So ancient Romans, of course, as I said, used the eagle to symbolize the sun. Here's Solas Invicti, the Roman god, with his symbol for the sun was an eagle. Eagles were used all over the Roman Empire to symbolize the sun. And fascists, of course, in Europe used the eagle also for the same reason, to symbolize the sun. It's a Roman eagle fascist signet ring. The eagle symbolizing the sun. And you'll see the eagle is perched on a fasci. That's another whole subject we'll get into another time. The symbol of the fasci is a bundle of sticks, which you'll see the eagle perched on, with a hatchet head. It's called a fasci. It's the symbol of world fascism, or world totalitarian fascist state, the most brutal fascist corporate state symbol. And the eagle representing the sun, showing that the sun is connected to world fascism. Here it is on a coin in 1849 in Rome, in Italy. You'll see the eagle perched on the Roman fasci. Here it is on an American quarter. American quarter, just like the Roman, because America is modern-day Rome. Now, Hitler and the Nazis also used eagles for the same reason, to symbolize the sun. You'll always see the eagle perched on the sun, and of course the swastika represented the sun and moving across the earth. As the sun rolled across the sky, that's why the legs of the cross were moving. It was walking across the sky. Sun symbols and eagles were one and the same thing in Nazi Germany. Now, we still have today the use of eagles as a symbol of the sun all over the world. Here in Florence, Italy, we have a church that has a sun eagle on the door. So eagles have always been synonymous in symbolism with the sun. The reason why this is important, because we're talking about a secret society that is based on the Illuminati, if not that very society itself. And the most important symbol of the Illuminati is the sun, because it brings light into the world. And as I said, it was always represented in the ancient world by an eagle. Even state arms around the world have the sun and the eagle. Now, here's the seal of the President of the United States. That's a very interesting symbol, and I don't want to get off my subject too much, but that symbol is very important. You will see in one talent the eagle is holding 13 arrows, and the other is 13 leaves. There are 13 berries, 13 stripes. Very interesting symbolism, and we'll talk about that in another time, because there's a whole world of knowledge of symbolism wrapped up in the presidential seal. But nonetheless, we're seeing an eagle, the eagle on the dollar bill. Eagles have only two wings, left wing and right wing. That's why we have in America the sun order that controls America's politics has two wings. They're called left wing and right wing. And obviously the left wing and right wing has to be controlled by a brain in the middle. It's your hands, both left hand and right hand, is controlled by one brain in the middle. So is the left wing and right wing of American politics is controlled by the same mind. Both sides are controlled by the same people. All right, we have seen that the eagle is a symbol of the sun. The sun in its rising brings light, obviously, into the everyday world of mankind. So mankind has always waited for the sun to come up so that he could take control over the earth. At night, it was very dark and fearful for the ancient man. And so that's what the sun happily does for the earth. It chases away the darkness of night, and it illuminates the earth, and therefore it is a symbol for illumination of the mind. It illuminates, the sun is always, as I said, representing light, intellectual and spiritual enlightenment. So the sun is always symbolized not only the light for mankind to see his way through each day, but more importantly, the intellectual and spiritual enlightenment of the inner soul or the mind of mankind. So that's why we have newspapers who are supposedly there to enlighten us as to the news of the world, keeps you enlightened. And so many of the newspapers have the term sun, always the symbol of the sun. Newspapers around the world, because the sun represents intellectual, spiritual enlightenment. You'd be surprised how many newspapers, magazines have the word sun and the symbol of the sun in them. So we see the same basic symbol used all over the world. The rising sun symbolizes spiritual and intellectual enlightenment. Here you'll see the rising sun behind the mountains, and that's a very important symbol we're going to get into now, that sun order, and it's symbol of the sun rising behind the mountains. That's a very important symbol, the sun rising behind two mountains. We'll tell you why in a few moments, but you'll see it everywhere. Even this dollar bill, as far back as 2005, but this is a very old silver dollar, and the name of the silver dollar is Liberty Marching Toward the Dawn of a New Day. Here it is in Russian, Soviet, even Obama uses it. There's a good reason why he uses it. It's a Soviet communist symbol. And we see the symbolism generally picked up around the world and used in, in commercial and corporations, etc. Even the shell sign features the sunrise on the shell sign. Here's a new stamp in America. You'll see the two pyramids or the two mountains and the inverted triangle, which is the sun rising between the two mountains. And you'll see the fascist Nazi eagle that was popular in Germany under Adolf Hitler and the Nazis is now on an American stamp, and he is perched on a fasci, a bundle of sticks. Very impressive National Socialist symbolism in America. Nazism, fascism, the eagle, the sunrise between two mountains, all of this is replete in America, everywhere. And in churches and religions in general, you'll see suns behind the mountain. And this is a whole subject that we'll get into another time, because this is a very big subject about how the church uses the sun rise behind the mountains. There's a very good reason why, and we'll get into that another time. But just to show how this symbolism is used in politics, in corporations, religion, churches, even the sunrise Torah symbol. The Jews use the sun rising over Jerusalem all the time. That's a very important symbol. Here we have sunrise in Jerusalem. There's a reason why the sunrise is important, because it's a symbol of the Illuminati, the illumination of the world by the illuminated minds. And of course, Charles Taze Russell, when he founded the International Bible Students Association back in the 1868, Zion's Watchtower today is known as Jehovah's Witnesses. That was a Illuminati Zionist movement as far back as 1868, and the sunrise was used profusely in the old watchtowers. Now, the rising of the morning sun is called the dawn, so when the spiritual or intellectual enlightenment comes into your heart or mind, we say things like, oh, it just dawned on me. Why do we say that? Oh, yes, it just dawned on me. That's what the sun does, it dawns. The dawn is it says here, the rising sun is a symbol of hope and a new beginning. The dawn, it's a Christian concept. And if you go on the web to Google and put in Christian New Dawn, you will see hundreds and hundreds of churches and church groups and Christian groups going by the name of Christian New Dawn, the New Dawn movements. Easter celebrates the new dawn of Christ brought into the world. Christian singers, the New Dawn singers. Here's Christian churches, the New Dawn Christian Church. So here's a picture of a Christian celebration, and you'll see on the backdrop, you'll see the crosses, and then you'll see in the middle the mountains with the sun rising on the new dawn. Most Christians have no idea in the world the significance of these symbols, have no concept in the world about what they're being led into. And of course, with this new dawn, we get into something called the new day, obviously. Christian symbolism still. And don't forget about the Jewish Kabbalah. The Jews also have the same symbol. That's what Christians have gotten it from. It's from the old ancient Jewish religion. In the book 9.5 Mystics, the Kabbalah Today, on the 9th chapter is called The Fragrance of Eden, the way of one who is caught between the suns of a dying and dawning day. So this is a very important Jewish symbol also in synagogues, the sun rising for the new dawn. Now we need to look at James Billington's book, probably one of the most important books you're ever going to find. Today, James Billington is the chief librarian for the Library of Congress. So this man is without a doubt well suited to discuss the story in his book about the communist world movement and how it was financed, who did it, what the symbols meant. This is really an important book, James Billington, and the book is called Fire in the Minds of Men. Now, in the book Fire in the Minds of Men, in the inside cover, it says, the history of modern revolutions is the story of people in the grips of ideas and beliefs. In this masterful work, James Billington, whose icon in the acts, this was his first book, establishes him both as a formidable scholar and a sparkling storyteller. But in this book, The Fire in the Minds of Men, he traces the course of the revolutionary faith from its earliest origins in occult Freemasonry to the allegedly scientific Marxism of today. Now, in the introduction is a profound paragraph in Fire in the Minds of Men. James Billington says in the introduction, a recurrent mythic model for revolutionaries, early romantics and young Karl Marx, and the Russians of Lenin's time, was Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods for the use of mankind. The Promethean faith of revolutionaries resembles in many respects the general modern belief that science would lead men out of darkness into light. But there was also a more pointed millennial assumption that on the new day that was dawning, the sun would never set. Early during the French Revolution was born something referred to as, quote, the solar myth of the revolution, suggesting that the sun was rising on a new era in which darkness would vanish forever. This image became implanted at a level of consciousness that simultaneously interpreted something real and produced a new reality. The new reality that they, the secret society, sought was radically secular and stringently simple. The idea was not the balanced complexity of the new American Federation, but the occult simplicity of its great seal, an all-seeing eye atop the pyramid over the words Novus Ordo Seclorum. Very important. This is why in New York City at Rockefeller Plaza you will see Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods to illuminate the minds of our masters on the earth. The godly wisdom was stolen by the god Prometheus and brought to the earth and given to our illuminated minds, or what we call, those who we call Illuminati, to illuminate our masters who control the human race, implying that they have knowledge of the heavens and wisdom of the world that we mortal men do not have. That's why they are the Illuminati, the illuminated ones. So the sun, again we go back to this concept of the new day that was dawning. A very interesting quote, very, very important quote from Manly Palmer Hall, Manly P. Hall, the great Masonic philosopher and writer, a brilliant man. In his book called Masonic Orders of Fraternity, he says this: a world fraternity was needed, sustained by a deep and broad program of education according to the method, meaning there's a method to all of this. Such a fraternity could not immediately include all men, but it could unite the activities of certain kinds of men, regardless of their racial and religious beliefs or the nations in which they dwelt. He goes on to say, these were the men of towardness, those sons of tomorrow, whose symbol was a blazing sun rising over the mountains of the east. That's a very important point. These were the men of towardness, those sons of tomorrow whose symbol was the blazing sun rising over the mountains of the east. He goes on to say, while it is difficult to trace the elements of a pattern never intended to be obvious, but the broad shape of the design is dimly apparent, an invisible empire in the Empire State, New York. So this invisible empire is using the symbol of the blazing sun rising over the mountains of the east. And you see it in Romania, in Mongolia, in Armenia, State Seal of Santa Barbara, in Arizona, Illinois, We can go on for hours on this stuff. Montana, Nevada, Ohio, California insurance, New York. Here's the city of New York, Seoul, with the sun rising behind the mountains of the east. Obama's sun behind the mountains, rising behind the mountains. Go to Google and put Obama and New Day, and you will see there's almost 1,947,000 back then. Almost 1 million entries on the web talking about Obama bringing the dawn of a new day. It's everywhere. Barack Obama's dawn of a new day for America. A new day dawns for our country. So here we have newspapers from the UK, and it says only a strategic partnership with China will keep this new dawn bright. Here is Gordon Brown with his wife talking to Ted Kennedy, and it says Gordon Brown, the Prime Minister of England, calls for a new dawn of collaboration with the U.S. and the European Union. Bush sees a bright dawn emerging. Here's Brown calls for a new world order, which would be a part of that truly global society of the new dawn. Or even Las Vegas now is now having shows in Las Vegas called the New Day. Even the Catholic Church is getting into the act, talking about the new world that's coming in the new dawn. Now, there's a very important book that cannot be found today. It's a very, very good book, and I've got 2 copies of it. Page 130, you'll see this is the state arms for the old Soviet Communist Empire. But you will see the sun rising over the earth, coming up onto the earth. The Soviet coat of arms graphically presents, there it is again, the dawn of a new day for the entire world. So this is a very important symbol for world communism, is the dawning of a new day for the entire world. Somebody had better wake up and understand what's going on here. Somebody needs to start doing their homework and realize that the symbols for world communism is now dominating America. We are now a full-blown Nazi, fascist dictatorship, communist dictatorship, and the people of this country have no idea in the world. Christians are now putting together New Day Christian Fellowship, New Day Christian Church, a grand New Day. Christians are now flocking by the hundreds and thousands and millions to churches that are promoting this new day that's coming. A New Day Christian Center. This stuff is replete everywhere. Christians have bought 100% into this whole communist strategy. New Day Christian churches, New Day publishing for children, everything New Day on the radio, New Day churches, it's everywhere. Christians have bought into this and have no idea in the world that this is an Illuminati, well-planned trick to deceive the whole world into buying into a new world order communist Nazi movement. I'll show you why I say communist Nazi, because there's not 10 cents worth of difference between any of them. Here is Adolf Hitler. And Adolf Hitler wrote a very important letter to the German people many years ago. And in it he said Germany can be saved only by a dictatorship of the national will and determination to take action. So he said, my fellow Germans, awaken. A new day is dawning. We're talking about Adolf Hitler now. And he's praising the new day that was dawning on the earth for Nazism. Again, the eagle and the sun. The sun order taking over the world. And so they put this out on the History Channel, and it's called The New World Order. And you can buy this whole set from the History Channel. New World Order. And what is it about? Well, the picture. It's about Adolf Hitler, because that's what the Nazis were trying to establish, as a new world order. And, of course, Bush was called the son of the New World Order. This was in Time magazine. Obviously, he was the son of the New World Order because his family financed Adolf Hitler. The Bush family put up the money to finance Adolf Hitler and the murder of people all over the world. So that's why the History Channel has a television series called The New World Order about Adolf Hitler, and Bush is referred to as the son of the New World Order. I don't know if that tells you anything. And here's the New World Order, Adolf Hitler, and here's the Bushes who financed Adolf Hitler. They're still working on building a new world order. And of course, behind all of this is, of course, the Vatican. The Pope calls for a new world order. You better find out. You'll see the Vatican, the Pope is wearing the sunrise on his papal headdress. Here is Adolf Hitler in the Vatican with the papal officials in the Vatican, because Adolf Hitler merely represented the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church represented Rome and the domination of the Roman Empire. And as far back as the Caesars, their symbol was the symbol of the sun order. So Hitler was a Catholic, was never excommunicated, financed, organized, directed by the Catholic Church. So you just keep continuing to send money to the Holy Father, and one day you're going to wake up and find out what the Catholic Church was really all about. The entire earth is bought into this world communist Illuminati secret societies financed out of England and America to bring about a new world order, which is a communist Nazi movement to enslave the human race. Understand the right and the left wing of the eagle, the sun order. Right wing is Vatican, Holy Father, Morton Bormann, Adolf Hitler, Nazi, New World Order, Republicans. And the left wing is the Soviet, Communist, New World Order, Democrats, Secret Society, Illuminati. Both are financed by the same secret societies.
és különösen nem mondjuk le a magyar parlamentről, Budapestről, mert a magyar parlament nem az ördögé, tudjuk, hogy nagyon szeretné megszeretni, hanem foglaljuk le az Úr nevében, hogy oda tisztességes, becsületes, emberbarát és Isten szerető emberek tudnak beszélni.